You want to understand power. Real power. Not the kind they show you in movies, not the kind they write about in business magazines. The real thing. The force that moves mountains without making a sound. Let me tell you something that will change everything you think you know about influence, control, and leadership. Power is not loud. It is not flashy. It does not announce itself with fanfare. True power whispers, and the world leans in to listen. Most people have it backwards. They think power means being the biggest, loudest, most visible person in the room. They equate influence with intimidation, leadership with domination. This is the thinking of children, of those who mistake shadow for substance. Real power operates in the spaces between words, in the pauses between actions. It is the gravitational force that draws others into your orbit without their awareness. It is the magnetic field that aligns people's interests with your own, making them want what you want them to want. That I have spent decades studying this phenomenon, watching those who possess it, learning from those who have lost it. What I have discovered will surprise you, because it contradicts almost everything our culture teaches us about power and success. The foundation of all lasting power is paradox. The more you chase it, the more it eludes you. The more you display it, the less you possess. The more you need it, the weaker you become. Power comes to those who act as if they already have it, who demonstrate through their behavior that they need nothing from anyone else. This is why desperate people never achieve real power, no matter how hard they try, no matter how many tactics they employ. Desperation has a scent that everyone can detect. It repels the very people you need to attract, because desperation signals weakness, and weakness cannot create strength. The truly powerful person operates from abundance, not scarcity. They give more than they take. They offer more than they demand. This abundance is not financial, though financial resources help, but psychological. It is the deep certainty that you have enough, are enough, know enough to handle whatever challenges arise. This inner abundance manifests in countless subtle ways that most people miss but everyone feels. It shows in your posture, your pace, your presence. In how you listen to others speak. In how you respond to criticism or praise. In how you remain calm when others panic, focused when others scatter, clear when others become confused. People are drawn to this stability like plants to sunlight, because most live in chaos. Most people wake up uncertain about their worth, unclear about their direction, anxious about their future. When they encounter someone who has found internal peace, who operates from genuine confidence rather than borrowed authority, they want to be near that strength. But this attraction must be earned through consistent demonstration of certain qualities that create trust, respect, and voluntary allegiance. These qualities cannot be faked for long periods, cannot be learned from books alone. They must become integral parts of your character. The first quality is unshakable integrity. Your word must be more reliable than any contract, more binding than any legal document. When you say something will happen, it happens. When you make a commitment, you keep it regardless of personal cost or changing circumstances. This reliability extends beyond major promises to every small commitment you make. If you say you will call someone at 3 o'clock, you call at 3 o'clock. If you promise to consider someone's proposal, you actually consider it. These small consistencies build the foundation of trust that allows for larger commitments and greater influence. The second quality is genuine competence. You must actually be good at something important, something that others value, something that creates real results in the real world. Competence cannot be faked, cannot be borrowed, cannot be inherited. It must be developed through deliberate practice, continuous learning, and regular testing against meaningful challenges, but competence alone is not enough. History is full of highly skilled people who never achieved significant influence because they lacked other essential qualities. Competence must be combined with wisdom, the judgment to know when and how to apply your skills, the discretion to understand what problems are worth solving. The third quality is strategic patience. The ability to wait for the right moment rather than forcing action in the wrong moment. To let situations develop fully before committing resources. To resist pressure for immediate results when delayed action would produce better outcomes. Most people cannot do this. They are driven by urgency, by the need for instant gratification, by the fear that opportunities will disappear if not seized immediately. This impatience makes them predictable, exploitable, vulnerable to those who have mastered the discipline of strategic timing. The patient person sees opportunities that the impatient person misses. They make better decisions because they act from complete information rather than partial understanding. They achieve superior results because they wait for favorable conditions rather than forcing action when circumstances are unfavorable. The fourth quality is emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and influence human behavior at the deepest levels. Every person you encounter is driven by a unique combination of needs, fears, desires, and aversions. If you can identify which of these drives is strongest in someone, you can predict their behavior and influence their decisions. This understanding allows you to communicate with others in their language, to frame your proposals in terms they can relate to present your ideas in ways that align with their deepest motivations. You are not manipulating them, you are speaking to what they genuinely care about, connecting your interests with theirs in ways that create mutual benefit. The fifth quality is the discipline of selective engagement. Knowing what deserves your attention and what does not. Understanding which battles are worth fighting and which are better avoided. The powerful person conserves energy for what matters most, refusing to be drawn into every conflict, controversy, or crisis that presents itself. This selectivity extends to how you spend your time, your attention, your resources. Every yes to one thing is a no to something else. Every commitment you make closes off other possibilities. The person who tries to do everything ends up doing nothing particularly well, but perhaps the most important quality is the ability to create value for others rather than simply extracting value from them. The most sustainable power is power that serves others' interests as well as your own. When people benefit from your success, when your achievements create opportunities for them, they have positive reasons to support you. This value creation must be genuine, substantial, and sustained over time. It requires you to understand what others truly need, not just what they say they want, and to develop the capabilities necessary to meet those needs better than their alternatives can. When you consistently create more value than you capture, when you give more than you take, you build a different kind of power. Not power based on fear or dependency, but power based on gratitude and mutual benefit. Not power that requires constant maintenance and defense, but power that reinforces itself through positive feedback loops. This is the secret that most people never discover. The less you need power, the more you attract it. The less you chase it, the more it comes to you. The more you focus on being worthy of power rather than acquiring power, the more power you actually acquire. But with this power comes responsibility and isolation that few people anticipate or understand. The higher you rise, the fewer people there are who can relate to the pressures you face, the complexity of the decisions you must make, the weight of the consequences that flow from your choices. You become responsible not just for your own success or failure, but for the success or failure of everyone who depends on you. Your decisions affect not just abstract outcomes, but real people with real lives, real hopes, real fears. The consequences of your mistakes ripple outward in ways you may never fully understand. This responsibility cannot be shared or delegated. Others can advise you, but they cannot decide for you. Others can support you, but they cannot carry the weight for you. Others can understand intellectually what you face, but they cannot experience emotionally what you feel. The isolation intensifies because you cannot show weakness or uncertainty to those who look to you for strength and direction. You must project confidence even when you feel doubt, optimism even when you are worried, calm even when you are stressed. You must be the rock that others lean against, which means you cannot lean on anyone else. This is the price of real power, and it is paid daily, continuously, without relief or respite. It is why many people who achieve significant influence eventually burn out, step down, or self-destruct. They underestimated the cost of what they were seeking, but for those who can bear this burden, power becomes something more than personal achievement. It becomes the ability to shape reality, to create lasting change, to build something that will continue long after you are gone. The ultimate test of power is not what you can accomplish during your lifetime, but what continues to exist and influence the world after you are no longer present to direct it. A legacy is power that has transcended its creator, influence that has become independent of its source. Building such a legacy requires thinking beyond immediate objectives to long-term consequences, beyond personal benefit to collective welfare, beyond your own lifetime to future generations. It requires creating systems, institutions, and cultures that can function without your direct involvement. This legacy-minded approach changes how you think about every decision, every relationship, every investment of time and energy. Instead of asking, "What can I get from this?" you ask, "What can I contribute that will last?" Instead of optimizing for short-term gains, you optimize for long-term sustainability. Understanding power means understanding its many faces, its various forms, its different applications. Power is not monolithic. It does not manifest the same way in every situation or every person. Some wield it through knowledge, others through resources, still others through relationships or reputation. The intellectual holds power through superior understanding, through the ability to see patterns others miss, to solve problems others cannot solve. This cognitive advantage creates influence because people need the insights that superior intelligence provides. But intellectual power has limitations. It requires others to recognize and value intelligence. The wealthy person holds power through resources, through the ability to fund projects, reward allies, punish enemies, and create opportunities that would not otherwise exist. Financial power is direct and measurable, but it is also vulnerable to economic shifts and the simple fact that money can be lost or stolen. The connected person holds power through relationships, through knowing the right people, having access to the right information, being able to facilitate introductions and opportunities that others cannot. Social power is subtle but extremely effective because it operates through networks rather than direct confrontation. The charismatic person holds power through personality, through the ability to inspire, persuade, and motivate others to follow their vision. Personal magnetism can move mountains, can create movements, can transform cultures. But charismatic power is often fragile because it depends so heavily on the continued presence and performance of the individual. The positional person holds power through formal authority, through titles, ranks, and official responsibilities that grant them the right to make certain decisions and give certain orders. Institutional power comes with built-in enforcement mechanisms and clear boundaries, but it is also limited by those same boundaries. The most effective, powerful people understand these different forms and learn to combine them strategically. They do not rely on just one source of influence but build multiple pillars of power that support and reinforce each other. When one pillar is threatened or weakened, the others maintain their overall position. This diversification of power sources requires constant attention and strategic thinking. You must continuously assess which forms of power are most relevant in different situations, which are growing stronger or weaker over time, which need more investment or attention. The art of power lies in knowing when to rely on which sources, when to combine them for maximum effect, when to keep them separate to avoid conflicts. It requires understanding not just your own power portfolio, but the power dynamics of everyone you interact with, what they value, what they fear, what they need. This brings us to one of the most critical aspects of power, the ability to accurately assess and respond to the power structures around you. Every organization, every community, every social group has its own unique power dynamics. Some operate primarily through formal hierarchy. Others are driven by informal relationships. Successful navigation of these power structures requires careful observation and analysis. Who really makes the decisions, versus who appears to make them? Where does information flow, and where does it get blocked? What behaviors are rewarded, and what behaviors are punished? What are the unspoken rules that govern behavior and advancement? This intelligence gathering must be continuous and systematic because power structures are constantly evolving. New players enter the game. Old players lose influence. External pressures create new priorities. What worked yesterday may not work today, and what works today may not work tomorrow. The powerful person develops multiple sources of information and multiple ways of testing their understanding of these dynamics. They listen not just to what people say officially, but to what they say privately. They watch not just what people do in public, but how they behave when they think no one is watching. This information becomes the foundation for strategic decision-making. Every choice about where to invest time, energy, and resources should be informed by an accurate understanding of the power landscape. Every alliance you form, every enemy you make should be based on realistic assessments of costs, benefits, and likely outcomes, but information alone is not enough. You must also develop the ability to act on that information effectively. This requires not just strategic thinking, but tactical skill, the ability to execute plans, to adapt when circumstances change, to recover from setbacks, to capitalize on opportunities. Tactical skill includes the ability to communicate persuasively with different audiences, to build coalitions among people with different interests, to negotiate win-win outcomes in competitive situations, to resolve conflicts without creating permanent enemies. It also includes the ability to manage your own behavior and reactions under pressure. Power brings stress, criticism, opposition, and constant demands on your time and attention. If you cannot maintain your composure, your judgment, and your effectiveness when things get difficult, your power will be short-lived. This self-management extends to how you handle both success and failure. Success can be more dangerous than failure if it makes you overconfident or disconnected from the people and principles that made your success possible. Failure can be more educational than success if you learn from it without being paralyzed by it. The powerful person treats both success and failure as temporary states rather than permanent conditions. They celebrate victories without becoming intoxicated by them. They analyze defeats without being crushed by them. They understand that today's success can become tomorrow's failure if not properly maintained. This balanced perspective is crucial because power is ultimately about the long game, not short-term wins or losses. The person who thinks only about immediate results will make decisions that optimize for today at the expense of tomorrow. They will sacrifice relationships for transactions, principles for expediency, but power that lasts requires different thinking. It requires building systems that can function without constant intervention. It requires creating value that compounds over time. It requires developing relationships that survive temporary conflicts. It requires maintaining principles that guide decision-making even when expedient compromises are available. This long-term orientation affects how you approach every aspect of power development and maintenance. Instead of asking, what will work right now, you ask, what will still be working 5 years from now? Instead of optimizing for immediate gratification, you optimize for sustained effectiveness. This patience is perhaps the most difficult aspect of power to master because it goes against our natural instincts and social conditioning. We live in a culture that celebrates immediate results, quick fixes, instant gratification. The media rewards dramatic gestures over quiet competence, sensational stories over steady progress, but real power operates on different timescales. It takes time to build genuine expertise. It takes time to develop meaningful relationships. It takes time to establish a reputation for reliability and judgment. Anything truly valuable requires sustained effort over extended periods. The powerful person learns to resist the pressure for immediate results and instead focuses on building the foundations for long-term success. They invest in capabilities that will be valuable for years or decades, not just months. They form relationships based on mutual respect and shared values, not just immediate mutual benefit. This long-term thinking also applies to how you treat opponents and competitors. The person who thinks only about immediate victory may destroy enemies completely, burn bridges permanently, and create lasting resentment that will return to haunt them later. But the person who thinks long-term understands that today's enemy may be tomorrow's ally. This does not mean being weak or permissive with those who oppose you. It means being strategic about when and how you use force, understanding the difference between necessary firmness and gratuitous cruelty, knowing when to fight and when to find alternatives to fighting. The truly powerful person wins not just the immediate battle, but the larger war for hearts and minds. They defeat opponents in ways that demonstrate their strength without creating martyrs, that solve problems without creating new ones, that establish their dominance without generating permanent resentment. This requires understanding that power is ultimately about influence, not force. Force can compel compliance, but only influence can create genuine commitment. Force works only as long as you can maintain surveillance and enforcement. Influence works even when you are not present, even when people have opportunities to act against your interests. Building this kind of influence requires earning people's respect rather than just their fear. Respect comes from demonstrating competence, integrity, and genuine concern for others' welfare. It comes from keeping your promises, admitting your mistakes, sharing credit for successes, and taking responsibility for failures. The choice is yours. You can use whatever influence you acquire to serve yourself, or you can use it to serve something larger than yourself. You can focus on accumulating power, or on creating value. You can build an empire of fear that crumbles when you are no longer there to maintain it, or you can build a legacy of positive impact that grows stronger with time. Choose carefully. Because that choice will determine not just what you accomplish, but who you become. And who you become is the only thing that truly matters in the end.